Welcome back, everyone, to the night shift. The EU portion may be over, but the NA portion is now to begin. ZP here with Jake to bring you through all the action here in North America. And Jake, I know for me, I'm really excited to see what NA's take is going to be now that all 6 heroes are available.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always one of the most exciting things for me, at least on the night shifts. I'm playing a ton of Deadlock these days. I always want to see what are the top teams doing, not just so I can, see that from this perspective of what the implications are for my pubs and how I'm playing Deadlock, but also just to see how team strategy shifts and changes across the regions. And historically in Deadlock Night Shift, the two regions have had very different takes on the game and had very different, even when it comes to ban and pick priority, how they approach the game, how they play. So it's always exciting to see the big differences between NA and EU and see what shakes out.
Well, it's not just the heroes that may be changing. We take a look at the format here today. Of course, we start things out with our challenging match, which goes into the money match, but a new team to be had here. Bunny with Clock, they're going to be taking the week off, and instead we're giving another opportunity here to No Earnings, a team that, they've played in one BO1 in Night Shift history so far, but they looked promising. And, when possible, when, it meets our standards of competition, we do like expanding, the veil a little bit, getting more teams in, and, see what No Earnings can bring here tonight against a Floormen team that, they looked good in the BO1 last week, Jake, but once again fell a bit short against melee creeps.
Yeah, I mean, tough opponents for sure. For No Earnings, I mean, Floormen look pretty strong as well, and that's a team that is kind of just getting going with a new roster and new adjustments. I kind of want to see, them going up against melee creeps again. But hey, you never know for No Earnings. Maybe they can play spoiler and deny them that second chance. I think for Floormen, you don't want to leave anything to chance in that particular one. You want to have a very solid BO1, and we see that a lot from the teams in the BO1, the challenger matches. They take things very slow and steady. No reason to rush and take a big risk, as we just saw in that last match with Abrahams. Right, things can go wrong sieging the base. It is a powerful defensive position if you choose to use it.
Yeah, and I mean, frankly, I know, okay, I saw Goober in chat, I saw Goober going, this is a travesty, how dare this ever happen in my Deadlock match, but to me, I also kind of like the fact that can happen sometimes, that the game isn't just instantly over. So, I think there's a balance to be had. Maybe it's a little bit too deep on the base defense, but in any case, definitely exciting last match. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the day, we gotta give a shout out to those who help make the show happen, and of course, I'm talking about our patrons that, of course, generously donate to help make the show happen week after week. We got our board members, we got our executives, managers, chiefs. Regardless of what level of support you are in, it is very much appreciated. And also, you get access to things like the Graveyard Shift, where that will be going down tonight after the broadcast. Jake, we got Saya on once more.
Yeah, it's always an interesting perspective to get. I think he's like one of the smarter players in North America and plays some of those like really off-meta support heroes and yet makes them look good. So it's always, I think, a particularly interesting player to get his take on all these new heroes, all this new content we have at the moment in Deadlock. It's definitely a moment for that. But without the patrons, honestly, I don't think we'd be able to run the show the way we do, right? To be able to be here every single week for Deadlock, to run esports, have an opportunity for people to compete in this new but very exciting, beautiful game. A lot comes down to the patrons, everyone subbing, joining the YouTube member community as well. All that really goes towards keeping the show alive, and we really do appreciate it. It's a community-led event for sure.
Well, speaking of community, sometimes we get new events like a new hero being released. We need to go a little bit outside the normal broadcast to bring in some expertise. We're going to be bringing in Lightbringer here and talk a little bit about Apollo and our first draft of the night. So Lightbringer, welcome back to the show. Always a pleasure to have you on. And, as we go through some Apollo clips here, tell us a little bit about Apollo, like where you see him here and now.
Well, I mean, is it gonna? Man, where's the clips?
They're coming.
Okay, they're manifesting. Okay, whatever. He's a fast character, right? He's a very mobile character. He's going to be the I need healing of this game. You're gonna hate having this character on your team. He's literally Genji. Not really literally, but I mean, the kid encourages you to play very aggressive, very tier limits. And you're going to see a lot of people pressing 3 multiple times on their towers and then dying immediately after when their target doesn't die. He's got a lot of just, I don't know, he's going to be like a showmanship kind of character. His 2 is a riposte. It can deflect everything. It's like a super counter spell. It has a stun attached to it. It got insane mobility. It's like a super juice counter spell, actually. The 1 is a kind of a generic AoE nuke, but it also has like an escape attached to it. I think that recently got nerfed as well to count as a mobility skill, so now it can also be disabled by slowing Hex, which, by the way, if you do not like playing against this character, you should be buying, because it turns off literally his entire kit except for his 2. The 3 is going to be stabbing you in the face a lot. I'm sure you're seeing that one a lot in your games where you're just getting stabbed and then stabbed again and then stabbed again for good measure. And then his ult is another giant stab, pretty much. It's just a it's just like an aura, I don't know, anime slash. I don't know.
It's like domain expansion.
Yeah.
You're already dead.
Yeah, it does bonus damage. It's like an execute. So.
Where do you rate him right now? Like, I know Abrahams was trying to go a little bit for the showmanship because they didn't necessarily have to pick Graves in the final match. But Lightbringer, you're coaching a team right now. If you were coaching a team, I'm not saying you are, but if you're coaching a team right now, do you plan on Apollo in your draft, or are you like, nah, maybe not?
I think a character like that vulnerable to just slowing hacks is pretty risky as a pick. You're really relying. You're basically saying like, my player is really insane. Like he is literally riposting slowing hexes. Like he can see that stuff from behind him, and it's not a problem. So I mean, it's one of them. Like if the guy is really good at it, you can pick it. But I don't know. Like what was it? Pocket, I think, was a character that was kind of underpicked, and then Ido. Was a guy that really brought that character to the forefront of the game. And I mean, I think he's going to kind of be similar. I don't think he's going to be first pick or ban just because it's so easy to just feed on him. Genuinely, like you're going to press 3 and feed under a tower. Yeah, he's got a nice lane. I think a lot of people are doing really greedy AP builds, but in general, I think if I was going to rate him out of 10 for draft, like 5 out of 10. I think you could pick him basically.
Yeah, I think we've seen him. I mean, I've seen him a lot, at least in pubs. I will say before that big round of nerfs that came down, I felt like he was on the strong side, looked like really, really powerful, can, snowball the game and outplay. But, you take a lot of those nerfs into account. Maybe that takes him down a notch. And on top of that, I think that sort of breed of character, like the super aggressive diving snowballer, kind of suffers in the highest level of play when you will get focus fired, right? People will buy the counter items to deal with you. I think that's something that in a lower level Deadlock, probably everyone else is thinking somebody else is going to buy the slowing hex, and you find you're in a 40-minute game without a single lockdown spirit item to deal with the Apollo, and he's just killing everybody. I also think he's a character that if he manages to get a significant soul lead is kind of insane, right? Like once he gets to the point where he's just like killing you with his triple slash, then you're feeling pretty bad about the state of the game. But to that same point, right, you go for a very early slowing hex. His character never really gets off the ground, and he kind of is all damage, right? He has a little bit of control, here and there, but for the most part, if he's not dealing damage and killing heroes, I feel like he's not doing much at all in this game. Yeah. I will say, I think Hoot as a player, though, is probably one of the ideal players when you're saying that about, like my player is so good, he's gonna riposte to your slowing hexes and dodge everything and outplay everything. I'm like, well, that's kind of Hoot, right? Like you give this guy the super high scale movement character, right? And I'm curious how somebody like Ido in NA, right? What is he going to do if he's gets his hands on something like whether it's the Celeste or the Apollo? I think in the long term future in Deadlock, we'll probably see more and more players who are just insane at every aspect of the game. But right now, these characters, I think, are the opportunity for individuals to really rise above the crowd and differentiate themselves when they're able to do these incredibly high skill interactions and get away with a very greedy build without feeding, right? Still managing to be a huge influence on the outcome of the game.
We got to move things along here and talk about our challenging match. And of course, if we're going to talk about teams playing, we got to talk about the Floormen, the once Hydra Nation that are no longer Hydra Nation as a new Hydra head has spawned. They'll play in Night Shift someday. They haven't been ready yet, but the newest iteration of Floormen. And, a lot of players to talk about here with history. Of course, Pop used to be on Bunny with Clock, now mortal enemies with Floormen against them. Lord M, Rocker, Goober, Rocker and Goober, of course, being the recent additions after the departure of Hydration and Zerbzy, and overall Floormen a mainstay in the NA scene. But to me, Jake, it's been kind of interesting because they've been a little bit off from their previous heights, where melee creeps have been just on an unprecedented tear for NA dominance now.
I do think, though, on an individual level, this team can absolutely compete. Their challenge now is catching up into the team synergy, which is honestly an even scarier prospect because it's sort of uncapped, right? The potential, I think, of a game like Deadlock in terms of what a team can do with, perfect coordinated execution. I don't even think we're close to what's possible in this game, right? There's so much complexity, there's so much nuance. We're still at a very early stage for that, and yet melee creeps have forged ahead, right? They've managed to get better and better in that regard. Their team fighting, you look at the teams like Abraham's and melee creeps on top of their respective regions. Individually, yes, there's very strong players on other teams, but no one really is able to test either of those opponents when it comes to that team synergy, that execution. So the Floormen, they're probably working on building that back up, right? Like resetting themselves as a team, trying to find that like macro communication understanding that puts them on even footing with somebody like melee creeps. But it's going to be, they're going to have to get the win to prove that they're there. I don't know if anyone's going to really believe, given the streak that melee creeps is on right now, that there's a real opponent waiting for them.
And of course, the opposition is going to be no earnings, where, there may be a little bit less to say, but, these players are, generally speaking, known quantities in the NA community. I mean, if you're playing into Turnus pubs at all, you see these guys all the time. A lot of these players went pretty deep into the Trolley tournament that was held in NA late last year, of course, around Halloween, because who wouldn't want to be sponsored by a candy company around Halloween? It just made too much sense. But, it's kind of interesting, Jake, whenever you look at a new team like this on the come up, because you never really know, what is their ceiling going to be? Because you think back to Deadlock history, Melee Creeps basically had a very humble beginning as well, where, they came into, I think at the time it was a fight night into some of the early night shifts, and they weren't even the number 2 team at the beginning. But as you get the reps in, as people get better at the game, suddenly things can change, and the team that's just the, plucky underdog suddenly becomes the team that's nearly unbeatable.
Yeah, I still think there's some ways to go yet for no earnings. Can they, achieve that? But you're right. These are all, individually strong players who grind to the top of the pubs. And I think we're starting to see in NA, right? There's been enough parity at the highest level where more and more teams have started to emerge. And I think it's been a very healthy region in that sense. Like a lot of these top players from ranked going on to build teams. And, still right now where we're at with Deadlock Night Shift, we want to just focus on, the best of the best, the top of the top, make sure that there's always a place for them to play. But it feels like that, the game is really growing fast. And I think that era of maybe bigger tournaments with more opportunities, more prizing payouts probably isn't too far around the corner given, the scale of the game and how successful it's been with this latest streak of patches. So these teams like no earnings, yeah, maybe they are, in that top 5 like level for NA, but that's an enviable position. You look at a lot of other esports, to be top 5 is an incredibly difficult accomplishment. We're just not able to celebrate them quite enough given the state of the game right now.
Okay, so we're about to get into the 1v1, but I do have a roster update here where, in my defense, I always check in with the players, be like, hey, any roster changes this week? And I just got the update from AVG saying, sorry, a bit of a mistake. We are trialing Sick P today. Lord NM is not on the team, so it will not be Lord NM playing Silver for the Floormen today. Instead, Sick P, C-I-K-P. So that's how I'm pronouncing it. I don't know if that's the way I pronounce it, but it makes the most sense to me. But, Jake, we got to get into our Apollo 1v1.
Oh, what abilities did you unlock for them this time, ZP?
Riposte. They can riposte and melee. That's it.
Does riposte work on melees? Actually, I assume it does.
Yes.
Yeah, should.
Oh my god. They're just gonna be riposte each other. I actually think this is a fun wrinkle. I think we should try to do this every week, like something interesting and unique on the melee 1v1, just to make it spicy.
You're gonna get Mo haters. The Mo Nation needs one thing. And we just start with the parry is
Raiden.
The double parry.
I feel like the riposte stun is not long enough to hit a heavy. It's probably just a light melee.
Yeah, I think there's like a weird animation in place. You have to light melee, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because I guess it does damage itself, right? The fact that you riposted somebody does damage.
No, it doesn't. I don't think. I'm pretty sure it's 0 damage.
AVG on the comeback though. AVG actually making this worthwhile. He just threw his riposte into the garbage. Okay, both ripostes are down.
AVG, no mistakes. No room for error. The whole team in Discord, everybody's watching his every move. And the quick melee to finish it.
And some squats on top of it.
He's got to keep those legs strong. It's part of being a fencer. You need that. It's that footwork.
Got to be nimble.
All right. So as we get into the draft, we saw people talking about this over in the EU. Lightbringer, right now, Celeste, do you let her get through the draft, or is she still too strong? Like, what are you valuing at the moment?
I mean, she's a good character for sure. I mean, she's pure spirit. She has to run away with the game. It's kind of similar to Apollo. Apollo actually has better flexibility than she does. Okay, that's pretty crazy first ban. Like over Celeste as well. I don't know. I feel like she's more exploitable than.
Well,
than
No Earnings has first pick, right? So they could think that if Celeste is that good, right, that they don't need to ban her first. You force the team with second pick to do so. And Floormen are going to oblige.
They're just
no fun.
All
right.
Stuff, man. Come on.
In NA, they're locked in, right? These guys, like, both of them want the chance, right, at the money match. I think NA actually has pretty close parity between the teams right now. I'm not sure about a team like No Earnings, how much of a test they'll be able to give to the Floormen, but for a while it's been very competitive, and they're going to snap at the Silver, who, despite taking some nerfs of her own, right, is kind of right back in the action these days. And I kind of agree. I think this character's can build probably the most tank items of any character that actually has very significant damage in the late game. Like the ultimate kind of does enough damage on its own, even with very little commitment into the orange.
Okay, that is wild. That is where you were expecting the holiday to be taken away from Goober at all costs. Like, that we have not seen a first pick Holiday. You have to go all the way back, I think, to when Gun Holiday was Omega busted. And even then, Holiday wasn't really getting first pick. So that is wild.
Crazy.
Backed up by the Shiv. Where, by the way,
Abrams, like, I feel like Abrams is like transparently one of the best heroes in the game.
Yeah, I'm just the fact that Holiday is over Abrams is crazy to me. And I mean, Shiv into silver is also not super great. The current health damage hurts him a lot.
This is also wild to me. I guess is this part of the thought that like you specifically want the Holiday matchup into silver to like hard stun her, such as nearly damage, and you can like burst her. I think that's just too speculative, right? Like I feel like Paradox is arguably just a better of the initiator heroes, right? Like I feel like you'd almost, even if that's what you wanted, right, to nail down an initiator early, I think No Earnings are kind of laughing all the way to the bank, getting Paradox for themselves. I mean, this is a pretty big vote of confidence, and likely to be Goober playing the Holiday here.
Here's my question. Do you go Abrams or do you go Rem here? Like, I think Rem has been like the biggest victim of mid-round bans across both regions, and I would actually like to see the Rem. Okay, instead you go to Venator. Ooh.
Right, no Abrams is crazy. No Abrams in the first half of the draft. Yeah. I actually can't remember the last time that happened. Like, truly, I don't know that has.
It's actually been like a year.
Abrams has probably been like, he's been number one for a hot sec, but he was like often getting through the ban phase. He's like top 3, but he almost never goes past the first phase of the draft. I feel like No Earnings probably still need to ban him because you're getting so many stuns.
Second, right?
Floormen still have one more pick, right?
They can either ban him or pick him, but if they ban him, they can come in with the first, or no, they don't even have first pick coming out of this. So what I'm saying, they first pick silver. Ooh, that, I don't know. I think you're a Floormen here. You pick up Rem and you're actually feeling really, really good. Like in terms of supporty options, I actually do favor the Rem over the Page or anything else you could put there. And yeah, instead they go Mirage. That also I think is fair. Like, I don't think anyone else is giving you for M1 carry style play what Mirage is giving you. I think he is kind of best in class. So I also think that's totally fine.
I think Mirage is the best M1 carry for like ultra late, right? Like when he's online, I think he's probably the best, but then he lacks a lot in tempo, right? I think like characters like Warden are just a lot more active earlier in the game, feel more relevant earlier in the game. And Mirage can TP in to show presence in fights, but I just think until you really have like the Ricochet inhib, I'm not as convinced by Mirage, and that's pretty deep into the game when you activate that.
I mean, it's like they want to keep. You have to keep such high tempo with the next 2 picks as well, or the Mirage is just gonna get run over. That character needs so much space on the map to be able to farm. It takes. They took the Rem as well. Their lane's gonna be getting pushed the whole time.
Although I think Page is going to be a nice grab here for Floormen. I feel like it's like almost for me assuredly a Page. I think Page fits super well here. I think it gives you some nice stun. They go with the Ivy, which maybe that means they won't take the Page, right? Because I think support Ivy also has looked great in the recent past, and gives that, like you were saying, right, gives a lot of activity on the map. Like even more so, I think, than Page, a hero that can constantly skirmish, come to every fight, push waves all the time. Like you do have a lot of uptime on the map as Ivy, and I think there's some nice synergy with Mirage. They end up with also the triple global ultimates, which I actually think this combo is a little underrated. It's a little like silly. It's not so much like a true combo, but just having 3 characters with ultis that more or less let them be on the other side of the map, much faster than anyone else in the game, means it's remarkably hard to play the macro game into them. And actually, I kind of hate the Drifter pick because of that. I feel like the Drifter pick, you're never really going to get people isolated, or at least in theory, with this heavy global draft. Maybe it punishes Mirage solo on the side lanes if he's like a little too greedy, but then if Drifter doesn't have stuns, I mean, Mirage TPing away from you.
I think people see him as a counter pick to Grey Talon. Also, the Ivy pick is, I'm pretty sure, a macro answer to Rem, because Rem causes lane chaos. Page is great for fighting and stuff, but if you're fighting and all 3 of your lanes are shoved, you don't get anything out of the map.
Yeah.
And if you have an Ivy, you can just tell her, hey, throw Kazoo over there, and then fly to the fight, and it's great. I think it's a better, it's a more measured option. She's still a good fighter. She's just not as like OP with the ult and immobilize.
I will say on paper, as I look at this, I mean, I am a little bit worried for Floormen on the early laning presence, just because, I mean, no earnings. I mean, when you take a look at what they're going to be able to bring the Baron lane, it's going to be a bit ugly. I mean, not that Floormen are entirely without options in regards to it. Like, they have some decent lanes they can bring up, but I almost look at the early, the mid game and feel like Floormen, it's a little bit of an objective survive, don't fall too behind, and, give time to get to the late game, get the most benefit out of your Mirage, and go from there. Like, it's a little bit of a rope-a-dope to me as I look at this.
I will say, I think if you're a very confident team, if you just think you're the better team, I actually kind of like just going for the heavy late game draft, because in this BO1, right, it gives you a very clear objective that just wins the game, right? As long as the game, is even at a certain point, I think probably no one is going to fall off pretty hard, in towards that ultra late. Like once the divine barriers start coming up for Floormen, and they're purging off things like Drifter's Darkness, and I think even carries like Warden, the ultra late part of the game, it does feel like, you lose some of that power spike. No Warnings, there's like a clear win con for them at 30-40 minutes. But if Mirage comes online, if Ivy's online, I just don't see how you ever are really going to be pushing into Floormen, even if you get like a big reju fight. As long as Mirage is online and GT and Ivy have a decent position to play from, there's always a threat of those comeback picks from Holiday kind of snowballing the game out of your hands. And so I think there's just like, theoretically, I like the idea of being very heavy global draft, a lot of ability to support one another, and you have the end game win condition. For No Earnings, it puts a lot of pressure on them to like do something, force the game to progress, take risky mid bosses, and lead them to maybe make mistakes against Floormen, who are definitely the more experienced roster.
Yeah, there's some interesting setups as well with the Talonbird. Talonbird with Shiv, stuff like that. I mean, he can execute a target right after you hit him with a bird, and you're still getting the +10. There's a lot of neat stuff like that. I mean, Talonbird could also be used to clear waves and stuff late game too. So I don't know. In general, I think their map presence is going to be extremely powerful, even considering they've got to protect their Mirage as a core.
Well, we're getting into it. Despite one of the players saying we were in the bathroom, they're not. We're actually getting into the game. Maybe they're playing for the bathroom. Either way, Lightbringer, thank you for coming on in our first segment of the day. Always a pleasure to get your expertise. Jake, though, we're getting into it, and we're going to see how the lanes are going to shake out here. And interestingly enough, we got Silver showing up in middle.
That is interesting. I think Silver, to me, honestly, is a relatively weak laner, and so I actually think the choice to put her with Paradox is a little surprising. I think this yields a little bit of advantage potentially to the Holiday Mirage, who, then again, I guess Mirage also a relatively weak laner, but a more common pick, I think, for the mid lane, given his ability to rotate to the side lanes, come back to the mid when his TP's online, and be able to a little bit more active than he would be in the side lanes.
Looking off to the left, you got a Drifter Billy lane, and on the right, Rem Warden, which honestly, Rem Warden is somewhat horrifying to play against. Like the amount of push against you don't really, until you've had games against Rem, you don't really realize like the amount of just pushback you get from buffed minions, and it can be really, really bad if it's paired up with anything that has good gun damage for push. So we'll see how it pans out. Venator, GT on the other side. The interesting thing is that if you drill into the stats, GT's overall win rate, where admittedly it's through a lot of different metas and different phases of the game, GT just kind of wins games, Jake.
The global presence from the bird is pretty impactful. I think that's an underrated aspect of the kit. I think you're right, though. The level of, one thing GT I don't think does that well is deal with heavy pushes. You want to be shooting heroes with your power shot, pressuring health pools, looking for kills. And when minions are crashing on you, I think you do feel kind of weak. That being said, I think Venator understands this instant rush on the monster rounds. And hey, GT could grab this item himself. Although typically we see GT more or less be pure spirit and a little bit of vitality, just going all in for the nuking potential that the character can provide. But Venator,
what's going on with Paradox and Holiday? Like Goober and G-Freak are doing something all sorts of freaky out here into the back. We've gone into the tunnels at 2 minutes and then some. Does not take the jump pad, realizing that Hyperline may have been in the process, and the chase down's still happening. G-Freak's still running for their lives after starting in middle.
I think this actually makes sense to me. These boxes on this side of the map are always a key objective, and if you can contest the enemy box roamer from mid, if you feel like you're stronger in that fight, you can tax a bit of HP. I do think G-Freak moved well through that, though. Really didn't take much damage at all, and probably got the lion's share of the boxes away from Goober, so probably got the better of that exchange. Silver and Mirage in the mid lane, probably nothing happening there. Just both happy to shoot creeps and play things a little bit slow.
Also, Rem took a very long field trip all the way to between left and middle before heading back over the Warden. For a second, I thought we were going to see some sort of lane swap, but it appears we are going back to neutral, and this has been a very interesting game rotationally so far.
Rem with these little helpers actually so valuable doing box runs. You can be a lot more efficient with your mobility, and there's not too much downtime on the little helpers. You're going to be able to get pretty much a full box run, and if these aren't punished, right, this is a lot of extra souls, and meanwhile, Warden getting a huge amount of solo farm, which really strong for him, sets him up really well, and big damage there onto AVG. It's a great bola to delay that tornado out. You see AVG wanted to tornado out, or rather Poshbot wanted to tornado out seconds before, but Big hits on Warden, though. This is exactly what GT wants. Hey, you leave your lane partner alone, and GT is probably one of the better heroes in the game at punishing. That being said, you're nice and low. That's a perfect time for Rem to come in and give you a pretty clean full heal, and Braden's going to be back up to, what, 2/3 after this.
It's kind of a missed opportunity a little bit for Floormen there, is that they had the 3-on-1 on Braden. Braden kind of sniffs it out, walks back to tower, and there's no commit. So there's no punish for this period of time that Warden was just left solo, otherwise getting ahead of the game. You know, not drastically ahead here so far, and you take a look at, but clearly the plan is you have Rem out of the lane and, you know, try and get as much solo lane farm to the Warden as possible. And, you know, for Braden, the objective is just survive.
These grenades hitting from AVG's Venator, though, are starting to bite, you know, and Braden getting low again. And yeah, you've got that heal on cooldown, but if you're going to just spam that out from Strider in the downtime, there's a serious vulnerability. Meanwhile, Goober's here looking to capitalize on exactly that. Does find the finish onto Braden. So finally, these rotations, it takes a few tries, but they're working down the health pool, and eventually Strider just doesn't have the defense to keep him up.
Goober might be under assault here.
It's crazy. He's slow shopping. Hello? And this is going to get a lot of big damage. The missed parry means a lot of heavy melees coming in. This could be a kill for G-Free. Goober's trying to teleport right back the other way. Oh, and another parry just barely gets him out. This time, I think Goober should be out of trouble. Silver's coming in to try and intercept this one and finish the kill, but if Goober just lives from this, it's actually pretty huge value, right? That's a lot of attention and time from both of the mid laners from no earnings. They don't really get any profit for it.
I mean, that was the effective Scooby-Doo defense coming in from Goober. If you've ever seen, you know, a Scooby-Doo episode where they're going in and out of doors repeatedly trying to get away from the villain, like that's basically what we just saw Goober do with the teleport, and, you know, was very able to get away. So, you know, sneakiness like that matters. Difference between dying, giving up the souls, and staying alive is a $25 tip comes on in from Soccer Soren 2.
Thanks, Soccer Soren. Appreciate that. We see a bit of a dive here on the side lane. Ivy and Shiv trying to heal each other up. I mean, getting a lot of value, Sick P in League. That shared heal. I think this is actually a very underrated combo, and it's a full rush onto Decay from League Shiv. I've seen this a couple times before, and when you have a support right dedicated to sustaining you in the lane, you can get actually some pretty sick value out of the rush Decay. It almost fully procs on its own to get your rage online and lets you be super aggressive early. And look at that, Billy is just down. Sick P, with the help of League, cuts that one to pieces, and now looking to snowball more onto the Drifter, and he's still healthy on this Shiv. A second kill as well, although this time it actually goes to League himself, is exactly what you want on Shiv, right? Getting this start with a very greedy item build.
Things getting hot and heavy on both sides of the map right now, both left and right. No earnings, a little bit more overinvested here on the right. 3 there with just solo AVG defending on the Ven. Gonna be backed up soon by Rocker. Bird ready to go. Now at 3.8k, so first bird of the game maybe coming through here in just a moment, and we'll see where Rocker throws it. You know, GT bird choice, always interesting if you use it to win your own lane or use it to be opportunistic. And it looks like a deep dive on the Braden. Yeah, taking a look what's going on the right, and Braden's just dead. Rocker just went straight off the zip, and there was no mercy, and threw the bird directly down Warden's throat.
That's just a quick 10 spirit for Rocker. It's exactly the start you want. As soon as the ultimate comes online, picking up some of that infinite scaling. If you didn't know, great talent. Every kill with the bird, your ultimate gives you, I believe it's 10 spirit scaling, which is kind of insane, right? You get a boundless spirit at some point. That's plus 15%. I mean, it really adds up, of course, across the course of a game. And a few more of those kills, right? Each one makes your bird stronger, increases the chance of that next execute. As Lightbringer was talking about, right? The combo with Shiv, you get to execute right after. You still get credit, and you still get that infinite scaling spirit power. So we take a trip with Strider, just running every single box in the game. But I mean, meanwhile, back on the top side, things are not looking too clean for no earnings. A lot of lane pressure from the Floormen being put on, really punishing these box runs from Rem.
Hypno, potentially a world of hurt here on the left-hand side. 3 members of Floormen for now looking for the Guardian, and there's only so much you can do as a Drifter back here. Was alone now. Billy up and over, but the airdrop attempt coming over here from 6P around. And around we go for the Floormen.
I mean, and Drifter's dodging it, but you're not defending the tower because of that, and that's the 3rd Guardian going down. I mean, Flowchart Gaming right now from the Floormen, but 3 quick Guardians in fast succession opens up a pretty significant soul lead. Paradox is trying to get some counterplay here, but already low. I don't think this is going to be a mid tower going down.
Into the evade we go. Floormen trying to defend no earnings in their territory right now, just looking for the sinners. And taking a look here, one thing you always have to be aware of up against Rem is Rem's ability to come in and you know, try and steal your double sinners away from you. As GT, Silver, getting into it, Rocker returning fire here, the Jism able to dodge the first power shot, and now time to go Wolf. It's gonna be a good way. It doesn't really look like it. Rocker taken down in the moment. Braden in on the assist.
Yeah, Rocker in way too deep on that one. Maybe if you hit every single shot there, it would have been enough, but good evasions from Jatism. Gets that Lycan Curse online. Quick kill comes on. And maybe Rocker feeling a little bit overconfident after that first bird kill. I feel like you still want to stay out of the thick of the fight here on Great Talon until you're quite a bit more farmed.
Just throwing a pillow from afar. As again, getting hot and heavy as Goober lands the lasso. Follow through. Should be there on G-Freak. G-Freak super low, but for now, able to get a little bit away. Nap time was used in the middle of it, but Sickp chases down the kill set up by the lasso. Rem just gonna get stomped on by Sickp right on after. So really nice support coming in between Sickp and Goober.
Great macro from Floormen, right? You've got two of these scaling characters, Shiv and Mirage, happily farming in the side lanes with the enemy towers down. The other 4 players all in the mid, finding a couple kills. I mean, this is more or less the dream start. As shout out to Together, winner of EU alongside Abraham's, giving us that raid. Welcome Together, viewers.
It was such a heavy raid. It paused the stream on our end for one moment. We just had the process, Together support. But taking a look here, we're 10 seconds away from first buffs. Floormen trying to position for it as no earnings. More of an overload onto the left-hand side and a chase down on the Rocker. We'll see how much danger Rocker's in. I think he gets to the zip, or rather gets to the jump pad.
He should be just fine. This is a very deep attempt here from no earnings. Are they going to be able to find these kills? AVG does go down, but here comes the counterpunch. League getting active on the Shiv, wants to find some executes. There goes G-Freak down. Execute used, looking for more kills. Decay now on to Hypno, who's running for the hills. Blur also died in this exchange. And with a Lycan Curse pop, maybe that's enough to back out, but a 2-for-1. Once again, Floormen getting the better of that trade, attempting an earn pickup, but against the Lycan Curse, yeah, thinks better of that one. Goober just trying to play his way out of this one. Maybe low on the jump pads, getting hunted down. That's a nice kill for Hypno.
Really important fight for no earnings. They just decided to overinvest on the left-hand side. They have the number advantage at the start. They're able to get the early pickoff, get earn control on top of it. And yeah, they're a little bit behind on the aggregate, but when it comes to earn, you have a pretty big advantage on turn-in as AVG just laying the damage in the G-freaking middle. But you take a look at Floormen here. Historically, Jake, they look for objectives instead of contesting earn, but that might not be the case this time.
Yeah, I don't know that Shiv's going to be doing much to Siege here, 1v1 against Drifter. But 5 players from no earnings here on this right side of the map. Very, very low on the Rem, though. Holding this earn, attempting to dunk it on this HP. I don't think so. He's going to have to back off, but that earn HP tax is going to start to bite soon. And look at Floormen. They're starting to invade. They're coming towards this Rem who can't use the zip, holding the earn. Still fighting under a walker could be risky. Instead, they try to turn and peel onto Jatism. He needs to be able to get this Lycan Curse popped. For now, the Alexa just try and run for it. And maybe has done enough with that extra stamina to slide out of this one. But the rest of Floormen still here, still looking for more kills. Rem tagging along already, so that defensive cooldown has been deployed. Floormen are careful, they're cautious not to overextend into this one, but they have a number advantage here.
Floormen pretty deep on the contest here so far. Earn still held by no earnings. Also, that was going down in the lower right. You had a little bit of a fight where Braden popped last stand, went after League, got him down a little bit, and now is on the back foot once more. So you got the one-on-one going on the left-hand side, while a very heavy team commit on both ends for this first turn. Again, it's a little bit surprising because Floormen usually trade out first turn, but they've changed their tactics a bit.
This is a test for the coordination now. Big Bird comes in, though, and that knocks the earn out of the hands of Billy. Now he's looking now for kills. Mirage already deploying that tornado, but he's starting to deal damage, starting to turn this fight around. No earnings. They've used the sleep. They've slept 2. Maybe is that enough to back them out for now? Drifter's trying to pick up that earn, but he's getting pressured out of it. Not able to hold it, and the arrows are starting to bite. Rocker, charge shot after charge shot, just piling in the damage. Tism even cut down through the Lycan form, and it's going to be the full kit and caboodle here for the Floormen. The earn drop, or the earn dunk, as well as multiple kills. And that's just the dream fight. The darkness from Hypno was not even close to good enough.
Jake, the best part about that fight was the end part as Floormen were wrapping up. 6P goes, all right, I'll go pick up the earn. Just walks over Goober's jump pad and gets yeeted away from the earn. Has to take a few steps back to pick it up once more. But yeah, I mean, all in all, the way that started and, kind of ended in a poor way from no earnings was they were going for a quicker dunk, and it all just got kind of stymied by what was a very on-point owl coming in from Rockers. So earn is not the turnabout no earnings we're looking for, and down 8, almost 9K right now, Jake. A rough start to the game.
Yeah, definitely. Strider getting the most he can out of these underground arenas, right? With no Calico in the game, he's the only character who's going to be able to get down here and unlock a lot of potential souls for his team. That's kind of keeping them in the farm game here. However, ultimately, still down 7K. I mean, this is like a 10% lead at this moment in the match. A little bit scary. I think we're not in truly dangerous territory yet, but for the Floormen, they don't need the lead, right? They could be even and still feeling pretty good about this game, given the power of their draft in the late game.
Yeah, I mean, realistically for Floormen, they're looking to Pasha and go, you are our win condition. We know that if this game goes late, you're Mirage and you are simply going to take over the game. So there's a bit of a clock on no earnings, and you take a look at how they've allocated their farm. It's actually not too bad. Like, Brayden has gotten decent little farm from Big Game Spike, but Shiv in real danger here. Getting hit by the Swap League, real low, taken down by Blur, as no earnings look to make their mark here in the middle.
Great slowing Hex investment there. Shiv without the dash, right, really lacks a lot of that mobility he needs, and a beautiful swap connection from G-Freak. No earnings come out of the woodwork and find a kill, but once again, Floormen coming in, backing up their players. The damage has been dealt, and oh, what can you do about this? Is he going to get that execute? Yes, he does. The permanent spirit power comes in time. Drifter, though, would love a bit of permanent gun damage, and a GT all alone in the sewer. Doesn't look good, although I don't think that's going to give him a stack. I'm not sure if he got it or not with Ivy right there alongside. No. Probably not.
6P was close enough. You got to respect the moves on talent. I mean, you see very few talents in general, let alone ones that can get as aggressive as Rocker, but you know, off on the other end of the map. Take a look at Brayden right now, who's just been pushing, but yeah, as you mentioned, League back over and in, looking for a little bit of revenge versus Brayden. Brayden real low, cannot take this fight, and is super low, just about killing blow range, up, over, dead.
That's Shiv for you, man. The attempt to siege on the Walker with Shiv respawning. A risky move. Tornado, though, pulls the urn just out of the hands of Datism, who was inches away from the dunk. Now it's contested. Now the fight is on. Both teams now bringing more resources to this engagement. Datism senses, hey, maybe they've invested a little bit too much. They're not looking to dunk there in themselves, showing a bit of weakness. And that urn is right on the drop-off. Execution, though, comes in for League. You're able to get the pickup, but the price is pretty steep. 2 kills. Well, on the map, Warden's still on the respawn, and the Bird coming in to even maybe snatch it out of your hands.
Bird plays being relentless, and yeah, gonna force the drop, and Floormen, they still want control of the urn. League at good HP, a force to be reckoned with here, and simply just picks it up at good HP overall, and now walking away. So the heavy contest from Floormen on urn control, often enabled right now by the use of GT, and GT's ult is pretty unreal. The Bird usage and value that we haven't seen as much as AVG just takes a nap, courtesy of Rem.
Hypno's really starting to snowball in this game on a 5 streak, right? And despite the fact that the game has been overall, a strong one for Floormen, he's kind of the one player on no earnings who's really having a great game. Warden does get this tower down, but is it going to be worth it? If he's able to win this team fight, it almost certainly would. Slowing Hex onto the Mirage. Just barely tornadoes in time, but doesn't really get far away. Maybe got caught on some geometry there. Brayden finds that kill. Could be looking for more. GT, how many charge shots does he have left? And for now, Brayden thinks better of going on the chase. Although, wait, hold on. He's going to re-up this one into the GT. Has to counterspell some of these charge shots. Crucial. If he doesn't block some of this damage, and he's going to be in real trouble. That Bird is online. Brayden almost feels like he can't back off, given that the execute could come in. Now it's going to be him just running for it. See where he can juke away, and no chance. Tries to go for the mind game there, back through the veil, but I mean, he was dead to rights.
Rocker has been putting on a masterclass, just an actual GT highlight reel all game long. All the while, there's been a bit of footsie for the urn, but that appears to be at an end. They even drop it to League, where, for Floormen, it's how you know you have an easier floor turn in. Usually they would leave it to Goober. They use Goober's movement to go in as Rocker just goes forward, fadeaway shot of Jitism. This is absurd. I mean,
all right, ZP, take a look at the map. What are you doing there?
I don't know.
This is the Floormen base with a 10k soul lead, and he is at the base Guardians behind the Walker. I feel like that one's on silver.
Also, I feel like right now, if you're melee creeps looking at this, as ridiculous as it may be, if you feel you're ahead in most respects, maybe you just ban GT, because it's looking like lore accurate GT at the moment. I don't know how much you've delved into the voice lines, but everyone's like, oh man, GT is a legend, but he's old. He's looking like young GT right now, Jake, because this has been a performance and a half, even for Rocker, who we usually expect to have good GT games.
Yeah, back in prime form. I mean, the gun investment here too with that recharging rush, I think this makes a lot of sense to me. Sometimes in the past we've seen GT have no gun investment whatsoever, but this way, a little bit of hybrid damage, a little bit of consistency, and you're able to get more charge shots off through a longer fight. Still a lot of spirit damage on the kit though. With Boundless online, you got to be so worried about the presence of an owl in these fights. I would not be surprised if we see a lot of counter spells come out in this game. I mean, Braden has gone for a very early one, but expect to see quite a few more players on No Earnings pick that item up. It's probably one of the better tools to respond to GT, but in the end, you only have one use of the counter spell. It's like a 30-second CD, and GT has quite a few arrows.
Pashy just got jumped. Pashy got absolutely mauled in the right-hand side. Braden around with it. G-Freak ends up dying because of it. Yeah, it's not 100% clean. If you lose Braden as a result, you're probably not feeling all that great as the Owl connects from afar. Rocker continuing to make every bird count from afar. So even the trade out here, you can argue it's not the worst though. It slows down Mirage and you lose 2 for it. But given that Mirage is the biggest thing that can end you in the late game, No Earnings has actually done a reasonable job here, Jake, at slowing down Pashy. I mean, 19K for Mirage. That's behind the curve for where we've seen some Mirages get to by this point.
I gotta say, I love the early Arctic Blast rather for League, and even the Dash and Ult Max Rush, because he is going to be such a nuisance when it comes to that frontline brawl, right? Blur on the Billy, Hypno on the Drifter. It's going to be a tough game for them getting locked down by Shiv and just instantly nuked to death, right? These characters, the execute HP threshold is even more worrisome when you're, a heavy frontliner with a relatively big HP bar. You get locked down by an Arctic Blast, you could be dead in a matter of seconds with Sick P and League there, challenging you in the front line. And Rocker's starting to feel like a little bit confident right here. He's posturing up, playing into these fights, and how can you really even start a fight with GT behind? I'm just not convinced here. As Tism maybe getting ganked, Decay on him, Shiv starting that chase down, but maybe some good moves will get him out of trouble and towards that spear buff.
Earn pickup, potentially going to go to Goober here. Floormen certainly have more on the left-hand side, and letting Braden go wild on the Walker in exchange. So, I mean, this is calculated from No Earnings, knowing, okay, we're going to get some Walker damage in, we're not going to get Earn control. But it could be a deadly gamble given how good Goober is at just moving the Earn along.
Yeah, I mean, for Braden, he's doing everything he can, right, to show his presence in the early game, play to the strengths of the comp, where they arguably need to have something of a snowball rolling to try to take down this Mirage, but Pasharov has gone for a very defensive build for the early game too, and oh, surely they're feeding him these last hits. They're actually intentionally doing it at this point. They're letting him get all this excess spirit power. Is he at? He's at 50
is that plus 50?
now. Is he, we're getting past the danger zone. We're getting into the WTF zone. He is gonna start hitting so hard, and we're pretty early in the game, man. He can go a lot further than this. Here comes a lasso onto Braden, trying to get active into the early game, but instead he's just pulled deep under the Walker. The sleep from Rem, is it enough to get him out of trouble? No, it's not. League does the damage, finishes that kill, and now there could be more on the menu.
League going in the finish, losing Braden makes the rest of this fight incredibly difficult as No Earnings just look for the retreat, and League keeping pace, not quite able to make the last jump, and that may be enough to free Strider away, but it's not going to help with the Earn. Pashy able to get the turn in, and I think the saddest thing we saw there is that, look, timing a counter spell on lasso is hard, but when you see Braden out of the lasso, drops a counter spell, it's like, well, it's all for naught as AVG gets the final chase down
so many
kill.
Executes. They have Shiv execute. They have Iradomini from Venator, and they have GT Owl. It's kind of insane. Although actually he doesn't even have the Owl max, and he's still getting this many kills with that. It's kind of insane.
It's been GT's world. We're just living in it, and this is rough timing. I mean, you don't have nap time up for No Earnings when it comes to contesting here, so you're not going to have the same power as Mirage going in. You can have Chain Gang, you can try and pull away. Yeah, they're going to try and get at least one rejuve charge here, so Chain Gang going to be up and ready. The bird timing, though, looks to be pretty decent. Ivy Stone form at the end, Sick P, Pashy pick up one. Only one stone here from No Earnings and Floormen. In a good spot here, to potentially clean up the rest. The arrows are flying once more. Braden going to be first to lose the rejuve charge. No Earnings, no rejuves left. League in on the finish. AVG and Rocker cleaning up, and for No Earnings, this may be the beginning of the end here, Jake. Down 30K and still one rejuve left to the Floormen.
And he got 2 stacks on GT has plus 70 spirit power. That is crazy. That is like what you get from Boundless in just the passive now. Okay, a little bit of a counter Walker pressure here from Tism. Should be able to get this down, although wait, hold on. Oh my god, I thought you got caught in the corner there. He's trying to do what damage he can, trying to maybe pop this Lycan Curse as well, but it's going to be given his life for this, and yes, you get a walker, it's something, but I'm not really convinced by trades like that when you're this far in the hole.
It's not great, and I mean, okay, you get the flex slot, fantastic, but down 30k, you're running out of options to an extent. Also, I mean, you look at potential win conditions that you have coming up here. Your Warden, who, you know, the way you've built your team comp here is kind of your late game threat, is not particularly threatening. You know, Silver at a reasonable level of farm, I think, for Silver, but you're just so far behind that even just diving on people and Wolf with a well-timed engage is going to be difficult. I mean, ideal world, you get a swap and get a clean pickoff, and you know, you only have one rejuve to deal with. And look, you look at EU, you can make big comebacks defending inside the base, but it is a tough road for no earnings at this point.
Yeah, and Floormen can play this one really cautious and just wait for the pickoffs, right? Like, play for these lassos, play for the executes. Ricochet is online now for Pashi Pop. It's kind of the beginning for Mirage, right? When he really starts to be a presence in these fights. Add the Ricochet, start putting your passive on everybody, get toxic on everybody, and then most of the next items you're going to build in this build are going to be more debuffs. It's going to be inhib, it's going to be silencer, and okay, you just bought the inhib, speak of the devil. This is the point in the game we're worried about, right? Where the Mirage, I would say, is officially online. Like, if he's able to shoot his gun on Mirage and actually debuff your players, no one's doing any damage, man. You just can't really fight into it. Yeah, you've got a lot of defensive tools on no earnings, but they've been forced into those defensives, and Floormen have gone very greedy, very aggressive on most of the cast. They have no kind of damage issues in this comp.
No, not at all. And, you know, I do wonder for no earnings how much of this is kind of a shock to the system, because I wonder how many teams in Scrim right now would even run the GT. It is not that popular of a hero currently in the competitive scene. Not a lot of teams run it. It is kind of a pocket pick of rockers, and there's been such a big impact in this game here so far. And yeah, I mean, I just wonder, how do you prep for this other than just getting absolutely rolled by this in one game?
Yeah, I'm curious. One thing is, like, the way I'm watching them play some of these fights, I swear they're waiting for the Great Talon Bird to get there on some of these ganks. Like, when they know the kill is secured and the person has no way out, they're making sure Rocker gets those stacks. They're making sure he's really hitting that unique, you know, unlimited scaling to really be a massive presence in the late game. And now, I mean, I'd be curious if we can get a Spirit Power check on Rocker, because I'm pretty sure he's in a monster position in this game.
Yeah, it's just a casual plus 70.
Plus 70. He's got to be at like 200 plus Spirit Power now on the build. Ooh,
oh my god. This is actually the Op Deadlock edition as Cheat Freak just takes two to the gut. And here comes the Owl. Chase down, movement through the door and over in. Wait, Drifter's still alive.
Somebody kill him. Okay, he's not gonna feed a stack away. The lone survivor, man. The lone freaking survivor is a Drifter on 1 HP. And he's got 2 arrows in the tank, man. He's not even out of gas. That's just a little taste of what the GT can do.
You know the meme, you know, the Baxter Society has your number and Shiv who's calling? You know, you can survive that. If you ever get the Baxter Society is calling and you actually see GTA there, you're already dead. Like, the bird has been sent to your house, it's over.
This is rough, and I don't know. I mean, I guess they could get a little bit more. I think Shrines would be a very risky move here for the Floormen. They might go put some damage down, maybe wait for some of these spawns, but yeah, I don't think he's going to stick around for this one. And meanwhile, they're just split farming the map, right? They're continuing to grow the lead. They're playing this one very intelligently. Remember, in the BL1, right, you do not want to find yourself on the receiving end of a tough comeback. You want to wait and play these fights smart. Wait for no earnings to come out and contest objectives on the map where you know GT can be maximally effective. I will say, I think GT is probably pretty weak when it comes to sieging the base, since you're so vulnerable to being jumped on and ganked. If you know you're overextended in the enemy base, you're able to like zip right over your head, you could find yourself in trouble. So instead, they're just going to play for the next urn, play for the next mid boss, and for no earnings, I feel like they have to make some plays right now. You got to take some big risks, some big gambles, because it feels like it's a matter of time here before Floormen close this one out.
You need to do something other than slowly lose, but the something is very difficult to find the perfect win condition on. It is the real problem, is that unfortunately when you're down this much in economy, you are waiting for the other side to make a mistake. Like, you're hoping that Rocker or AVG or League just full ego at some point, and as a result of egoing, they put themselves in a spot where they get picked. Like, ideally, you want Rocker to think he is the guy even more so than he has been this game, overextend, and then you get a free fight with no GT. That would be the ideal for no earnings. But, you know, so far for Floormen, they haven't really shown the idea that they're going to make that level of mistake here so far. And, you know, for no earnings, it's really limiting the options they have.
Yeah, I think when you get the superior stam, for me, this is a really key moment on GT's game where you just become so much harder to actually successfully chase down mobility on a pretty high level. Here comes attempt from No Earnings. Strider goes for a sleep, but already down to just a sliver of HP, has to tag along to get out of there. Darkness has been deployed, but it seems like it's one to be utilized in retreat. Arctic Blast deployed from League as he's looking to get this Billy under the execute threshold, secure that finish kill. Not even gonna need to deploy it. Doesn't want to worry about a Rect giving a little bit of late bonus HP to Blur. And Floormen with that one kill, they might look to go for a little bit of a risky siege here. Maybe just an opportunity to clean up some more base Guardians, further, enabling those fast zips, further opening the potential for a game-ending siege when the next mid boss goes down.
They're going to stay disciplined, Jake. They know mid boss is up in 20 seconds. They got to pick on the Billy, who would, already is like a pretty brutal pick when you're looking to contest middle. So this leads us to what's going to be the final fight. Also, yeah, I was about to say that seems like kind of a misplay. Like, I understand you're defending base and you're looking for an opportunity, but I almost feel like some part of you has to be aware that mid boss is coming up soon, and nap time is one of the absolute best abilities to contest, and they're not going to have it. And still, you have to wait. No Earnings. They're not giving contesting.
They're going to give it up and go for the Walker trade. I don't love it. I think
you just
bad
lose.
as it would be to go contest this, I do think you will just get team wiped coming in here. I mean, there's like the GT Bird. You have Ivy as one of the better mid-boss contesters just with Stone Form. I don't think you really would have won the fight. I mean, this is a point of the game where it's just so speculative.
They're getting cut off.
Oh, and the zip knocks are coming. You're being forced into a fight on the side lane. You do have good zip coverage here, but with triple rejuve, the Floormen are going to be so happy to take this one here and now. Braden already down. Goober has found the first, and they're looking for more. Darkness is going to maybe be enough to get some of these other players out, but taking down Braden is probably the biggest prize on No Earnings. And Floormen, the way is open for them to go for a base siege. A couple buffs are up. Maybe they'll do earn first, but 50 seconds on the deck with your hard carry, 70,000 or 60,000 rather sold, disadvantage, triple rejuve. This is surely the Floormen's game to lose.
Look, you go by win percentages pre-mid boss. It's not good for No Earnings no matter what. But I do think you have to go for the Hail Mary, hope for the chaos in the mid fight to go in a way that you steal 2 rejuves and you leave Floormen with 1 rejuve. Is it likely to win? No. But I think going for Walker is so objectively just not going to win. And what was it? This is
he's in a little trickiness here, waiting in the. Oh, and he
goodbye.
Off. Big stun on the Billy. Billy's caught. Silence wave as well from Goober. The barrel assists that cleanup. Well played from Pashu up there, guessing that somebody might come. Just take a peek, a little fleeting glance at the earn dunk, and instead they pay with their lives. Multiple waves now pushing in. Strider's going for a mid cut, though. It's going to make the siege a little bit awkward. But given that you're able to cut all the creeps in the base now for Floormen, it's only a matter of time, and they still don't have backdoor online, so the mid cut not really able to do much of anything just yet.
Mid-cutting something that people should go for. That's a high-value barrel. Just hits the entire team. Lasso still ready to pull it. Anyone who gets into the fountain may not even be necessary as you just get cleaved through inside your own fountain. And maybe save the best for last. Final barrel on the striker. A full team wipe for the Floormen. And Jake, that is going to wrap things up nicely as Floormen just have a little bit of base destruction to do until they get their rematch once more against the melee creeps.
Very sick Vortex Web there from Sick P. Sets up a huge nuke from the rest of his team, and it is just over, man. Not even a player alive, likely, as the final patron goes down. It's going to be Billy versus the world. Look, I got to say, this one, it ain't coming home. Billy, a valiant attempt, I should say, diving in, doing what he can for the defense. But
what is going on in chat right now?
Right about exactly that. Goober's blaming the Twitch chat from the game. That's such a, I love it.
What in the world? I mean, that was too much to follow at the very end. You talk about the chaos of an average Deadlock fight. What about the chaos of the average Deadlock chat fight?
No, forget Mavis Beacon teaches typing, bro. You just gotta BM in a MOBA while you're playing, all right? There's no more powerful typing tool. We gotta get the kids playing Deadlock. They'll get their words per minute up in no time.
Goober, unironically, just listening to the broadcast, which is on delay, by the way, so no competitive advantage. At the same time, I was like, did they mention me when I came in here at the barrel? It's like, no, we talked about Rocker a lot, but either way, Floormen going to be moving on to face melee creeps once more, and I gotta say, this feels like one of those cases where you can see the potential of No Earnings as a team, but when you're a brand new team relative to some of the more veteran teams in the scene, sometimes you're gonna get hit by things that you've never seen before. And again, I just wonder how often in the scrims right now do you actually play against a good GT, given the fact that Floormen are one of the only teams that even run it?
Yeah, and I think the willingness to give up the earn control, the pickup for Floormen really was a question in my mind when I see, oh, they're giving up a lot of these earn pickups. Like, how's that going to go? But every time the dunk comes in, they're always ready to contest. And one of the things we talked about when we initially saw that earn dunking change, where all you have to do is just make it to that landing spot and you will secure the earn, is now. I mean, at first we thought, oh, earn control is so important. It's so hard to stop that contest. But teams have gotten a lot better at snatching the earn out of your hands, at finding that quick melee on your way into the dunk. They're very ready and aware of it nowadays. And we got to see that, especially Rocker with the GT bird, right? Knocking that earn many a time, turning those fights really, really bad for no earnings.
Taking here, look at some of the highlights. Again, Goober with the Scooby-Doo defense here. teleport, gone at the very end. And, things got a little bit frisky early in this game, and I feel like NA does this a little bit more than EU, where NA will just have these skirmishes at times, sub 2 minutes. And I think it's probably closer to the ideal way. Is this is, I think, off camera at the time, the chase down in under Braden, turns. Like,
when you have somebody low HP and they see you pop the bird animation and then just run, it's like, good luck, man. Try your best. Release the hounds.
Oh God!
Oh my God, the Irritom is so nasty. This player is so sick, dude. Sick P, great game from him on the Ivy, by the way. First time we've seen him on this roster, on a very clean streak this game, very stable gameplay to support Ivy, but having impact clearly, right? Always there at the mid-boss contest, always alive at the right times. We don't talk about that enough, right? Just the very clean, no mistake support gameplay from Sick P, and honestly, he looked like a great addition to this Floormen roster. Could give them a potential better chance against melee creeps than they've had in the past.
45,000 damage coming in from Rocker, no surprise there. But also to that last clip, Jake, explain Deadlock to someone. You go, well, when you get tied up by a cowgirl and then you start hearing this priest from the Vatican, in a very deep voice, start reciting Latin as he pulls out a glowing crossbow. Well, what do you think is going to happen at this moment? But
your odds are not great. All right, when they start reciting the Bible verses, you gotta watch out. That's it's time to get scared. It's time to start worrying.
But yeah, good debut here from Sick P, coming in for what was previously the Lord NM spot. And, we'll take a look. Not a player we have a lot of data on at this level of play, maybe coming in more of a support role. We'll see if we see Sick P on something like a Page or a Rem later on into the night against melee creeps. But this is where I wonder if our MVP is ready, because if it is Jake, there's no question who it has to be for this game.
Really, I feel like there's so many good performances from Floormen. I mean, probably Rocker, fair enough, right? But I also think, in a way, like not to flame Rocker in any way, but a lot of it is the team's awareness. Like, he's getting a lot of those kills with the GT bird because the enemy team, or rather his allies, are intentionally delaying the kills so that he gets the last hit, he gets that infinite scaling. Like, that's not something I've seen actually too many other teams do, but now that you've seen it, it's like you almost wonder, maybe every top team with the GT is going to start really being aware of that and really setting up their great talents to snowball a bit more by being careful about not securing those kills until the bird comes in.
Well, it is going to be Rocker as your MVP, and it's interesting too, because I feel like the mechanical excellence has gone up over time. Like, the level of comfort you need on this hero to just go point blank with some of the power shot steps, especially the point blank birds rotating around corners. It looks seamless from a cast perspective, but if you ever played the hero, you realize some of this stuff consistency wise, like this battle right here, to just go in versus Billy close range, do all this and get away with your life is ridiculous. Well, he dies to the other person, but lived versus Billy.
Yeah, it's actually, I mean, it's scary because you miss like one of those charge shots and immediately you're just dead. You're not going to finish off the Billy, and he's absolutely going to turn the fight and clean you up. Yes, GT, you really are limited in terms of how much burst you have through the fight, but you hit all this spirit scaling, and hey, that burst suddenly, it's enough for 2 or 3 kills, and then there's not really any kind of fight to be had. This bird, I think, on the mid-boss contest was particularly massive. I mean, players just running into their demise here. Power shots raining down. When you're able to play outside the pit and your team's creating this kind of a chaos for you, we're able to see the real damage potential of this character to be, probably one of the most threatening spirit carries in the ultra late game with that infinite scaling.
We had the free cam point of view on that. We didn't see like the GT point of view, which is the server admin point of view at this point in the game. Like, good God.
I gotta say, I didn't even notice that in this fight. He even counterspells the darkness from Drifter there. It's like if he fails that, probably doesn't get half of these kills, probably doesn't secure this level of snowball for the team. So it's these little detail plays, right? It feels like it's a foregone conclusion, that fight, but you're blinded on GT. Maybe a lot of those kills don't come so easy.
Yeah, I mean, just a gem of a performance, and it sets up what is going to be our money match once more. The melee creeps the team to beat in North America that just has gone on a now 3-month spree of not losing. Basically, since the Trolley Invitational, they have been the team to beat up against Floormen, who have been looking better, I think, week after week. They've had some rougher weeks, certainly, where they've fallen to Bunny with Clock multiple times, and they've had to sort of revamp. And yes, they did revamp again roster-wise, where they got 6P in for Lord NM, but maybe this is the day that they will challenge Melee Creeps in earnest. They've taken a map off them here and there, Jake, but the full 2 maps hasn't happened in quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, they're a tough team to go up against. In the past, Melee Creeps, you could even say they've been showboating a little bit, right, with the level of their dominance. It's hard to blame them for kind of being a little bit cheeky sometimes when they're up 1 map. So sometimes even when we say it goes to 3, it's like, yes, but if Melee Creeps were really on their last life, would they be giving up those maps? Their reign of terror, their reign of dominance has been pretty much unchallenged. There's been a couple hiccups here and there. NA's been a little bit more competitive than NA, but you got to give it to Melee Creeps. I mean, what's the streak at now? ZP is like 14, 15 in a row. They're as dominant as it really ever gets in esports. But if there was a team to take them down, it'd probably be the Floormen right now in North America.
Certainly the mechanical skill is there, but can they bring it all together? Coming up next here on the Night Shift is the NA Money Match. Melee Creeps defending the throne against the Floormen.